modern-day Britain, when night falls, it's not usually a problem. Life can continue thanks to artificial light. Most towns, cities and villages across the nation become circuit boards as all the street lights and street lamps, and yes there is a difference, come on, illuminating the way for pedestrians and vehicles around our streets. Did you know that there are over 6 million lights across the UK? They might not always work or work effectively, but they do a vital job. It makes you wonder actually how we ever managed without them. Some places still do, of course, generally the villages and hamlets that are way out in the sticks. So when did we get streetlights? Who invented them? And have we always had the kind we see today? Let's find out. A streetlight is defined as a raised light source on the edge of a road or path. Similar lights may be found on railway platforms, but they're not streetlights. Many of our lamps have light-sensitive photocells that activate the lamp automatically when they're needed, and that's normally just before nightfall, regardless of the time of year. Once again, we have ancient civilizations to thank for this human innovation. Early lamps were used by both the ancient Greeks and the Romans, primarily to aid security and prevent crime, but also for safety, to stop people tripping over in the dark. A light found outside your typical Roman villa was called a lanternarius, from which we get the modern term lantern. Later, candle lighting was employed in cities. The earliest versions of that needed an actual human being to work. They were lamplighters who toured their towns at dusk, lighting each and every one of the lamps by hand. However, there was no law that required them to be lit at all. Some sources reckon illumination was first ordered officially in 1417 by Sir Henry Barton, the Mayor of London, but there's no firm evidence for that. In the 16th century, the first lanterns with glass windows were invented by Edmund Hemming in London and Jan van der Heyden in Amsterdam. They greatly improved the quantity of light and soon spread across Europe. The first widespread system of street lighting used piped coal gas as fuel. In 1726, a man named Stephen Hales procured a flammable fluid from the distillation of coal. John Clayton, in 1735, discovered its flammability by accident. Neither had the idea to use it for lighting. That instead was William Murdoch in the 1790s, while overseeing the use of his tin mining company's steam engines in Cornwall. In 1792, he lived in the first house ever to be lit by the gas, in Redruth. In 1798, he used gas to light the main building of the Soho foundry. In 1812, Parliament granted a charter to the London and Westminster Gas, Light and Coke Company, and the first gas company in the world came into being. Less than 2 years later, at the end of 1813, Westminster Bridge was lit by gas for the first time. The first electric street lighting employed arc lamps, initially the electric candle, developed by Pavel Yablochkov in 1875. It was a carbon lamp that used alternating current. These lamps would eventually replace the gas ones. In London, the first things to be lit using them were Holborn Viaduct and the Thames Embankment in 1878. Then came incandescent light bulbs, first used on Mosley Street in Newcastle in 1879. They would go on to be the primary source of light for all of our streets until the invention of high-intensity discharge lamps, which are still widely used today. These came in two forms. Low-pressure sodium lamps became commonplace after World War II for their low power consumption and long life. Late in the 20th century, high-pressure sodium lamps were preferred, providing the greatest amount of photo-optic illumination for the least consumption of electricity. In the age of climate change, streetlights are evolving again. A lot now have LED or induction lights, which emit a white light that provides an even greater level of light, yet consume far less power. Many UK councils are currently undergoing mass replacement schemes to LED, and although lots of streetlights are being removed along stretches of our motorways, LEDs are the preferred option in areas where it's still deemed necessary. Next time you're out at night, just remember, we could all still be living in the dark ages without the 6 million, often unsung heroes lighting our way.